Well, then let's
Thanks,
call
Mike.
the order. Is Wednesday, January 11th, 2023. This is the fourth board meeting of the 2023 fiscal year. And let's start with a roll call.
Lemons. Here. Magnuson. Pantera. Here. Rush.
Here.
Bunny.
Here.
Board members present, Magnuson absent.
Thank you. There are no communication items for today. Jessica, are there any introductions that we need to make?
I think the only person who may be new to some board members is Joni Hanson, who is the branch manager at our Bound Crossing Library.
Welcome, Joni. And the first item on the agenda is the minutes approval for the December 14th. December 14th, yes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of December 14th board meeting?
I move to approve the minutes from the December 14th.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay? All right, motion approved. Move on to the consent agenda. I'm going to request that items A and B be pulled from the consent agenda for further discussion, just to ask a couple of questions, which means we're going to have to vote separately on them. Sorry about that. Item A, I had a couple of questions on some large expenditures that I just wanted to get clarification on.
Would you like to vote on other matters and go into discussion?
Is it easier? That'd be much better. So how do I do that?
Well, I'd say if there's no objection from any other board members, you can, as the chair, you can go ahead and move 4A and 4B off the consent agenda, and then take a vote on the other matters.
Something else.
Those are the only two items.
Yeah, that's like
So
slide.
so there's no consent agenda. So,
All right, okay, very good. Oh, thank you for trying to save me some motion. The first on innovative interfaces, is this for IDA?
So I'm going to answer that one. And yes, it's a small part of the mobile app payment. What we did this year is we're actually prorating the charge of it so that we can get it onto our annual renewal, which will be June 1st. So this is a portion of it, but then it will also come back to the full annual renewal on June 1st, along with our massive annual contract.
Okay, very good, thank you. And I saw a charge for a book sorter. I think we're all aware that the book sorter is coming in. I'm under the impression it's going to be installed some time further in the future. So is this a prepayment?
It is. So they have to order the equipment. So they charge us a certain amount up front in order to make the order and place it so that then, just to make sure that we're good for it. It's sort of like a deposit, since it's $180,000 price tag. We're putting up kind of that good faith front money. We do have a confirmed timeline, so we'll start, I think it's May 9th.
Okay. And that's the target installation time?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm eventually going to ask you for a demo.
Yes, it's going to be so exciting. We're going to have tours.
Okay, thank you. And just a clarification on the new furniture. I was curious which branches are getting new furniture? Is it just the main, or is it spread throughout the branches?
So I get to answer that one. Hillcrest and Maine both got new furniture.
Okay. And when does that happen, actually?
It has happened.
Has happened. All right.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And the last item was a new one that I haven't been exposed to before, Patron Point.
That's me again. So Patron Point is a third-party vendor that we have working in the background. It does multiple things. One of the main things we brought it on for is it does address verification in the background. So for example, somebody can apply for a new library card, and if they can grab the digital footprint of the person and verify that they live at that address, then they can just get a new library card right away. If that doesn't happen, then there's other steps that happen. Then we also have an annual address check that happens in the background. And so Patron Point does the same thing where it's using digital footprint data to go out and verify whether the person is at the same address. If it comes back with any kind of an error, then it will have them come in to renew their library card. But it makes it a more seamless process both for our users and then also for the staff. And then it does recommends. So we have a product that we just, I think, rolled out 2 or 3 months ago. So you can sign up for a recommends. That's what it's called, is recommends. And it's a newsletter, and it will talk about the new titles that are coming out. You can pick genres, you can pick a couple different age groups. So that's another feature it does.
So it partially creates the newsletter?
It totally creates a newsletter.
Wow.
So it will fill in, and then we can customize it so that it appears to be coming from us directly. But they pull all of the latest information. They do the vetting on the back end to make sure that we will, in theory, own the titles moving forward, or we do own them. If they haven't released yet, it's one of those things that if it's on order, then it should show up still. So it's some of the newer titles to let people get ahead of it and get some holds placed and be excited about it. So it's a really nice feature. It does some other things, but those are really the most important parts of it.
All right. Sounds like quite a time saver.
Yes.
All right.
Did you see what Phil was showing us?
Welcome, Phil.
Good morning. Sorry I'm late.
Thank you, Rebecca. That was it. All the questions that I had on item A on the bills and payroll. Are there any other questions from board members? Is there a motion to approve the bills and payroll item on the agenda?
I move to approve the payment of bills and payroll as presented in our materials.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Let's move on to item B. I have one question. In the financial report, under maintenance and operations, subheading maintenance and operations, and then the subcategory administration, it shows at this early point in the year that there are 43% of the annual budget consumed or encumbered. And I'm guessing that has to do with the library renovation.
Actually, the amount that is encumbered, that is the annual depreciation expense. So central accounting will encumber the entire year, the expense for the entire year, and then on a monthly basis, they will release that and post it.
Depreciation.
Just the depreciation.
Okay.
expense.
And in that total budget, 5.3 million, does that include the amount carried over, what was unused in the prior fiscal year?
This will be for general fund only that we're looking at here. So any of the rebudgets or the carryovers that we had from fiscal year 22 are actually in our Fund 402, our capital fund. So in the general fund, we did not have any rebudgets or carryovers.
Okay. And is that 402 item shown anywhere on the report?
The capital projects on the next page.
Okay, so that would be the 871,000. Is that what you're saying? Or it's the total 4.3 million?
The budget of the 4.3 million, that includes the rebudgets from 22, but also the new budget for 23.
Okay. So I guess what I'm trying to verify is that we were able to carry over everything we didn't use, which was all capital projects from 2022 to 2023.
Yes, I did validate that the budget does represent all of our requests from 22.
All right, great. Thank you. That's all the questions I had. Are there any other questions for relating to the finance reports? Okay, is there a motion to approve the finance reports based on this discussion?
I move to approve the finance reports.
Second.
Second? I think Phil said second. Did you say second, Phil?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carried. We can move on to reports. The first report is from Jill Johnson, the president of the Friends of Boise Public Library. Welcome, Jill.
Hello and Happy New Year.
Here.
I have just a couple of quick things today because we have not had our board meeting since the last trustees meeting, the way the calendar broke over the holidays. So we will have 3 new directors joining our board tomorrow for their first board meeting. And we'll be establishing our committees and everything going forward for the calendar year. And the only other update I have is that our volunteers are busy at work getting ready for us to be out of the 4th floor by the middle of next month. I still don't have any updates about what we might be doing during the time that we don't have access to the 4th floor, but fingers crossed, we'll have something to tell you next month.
All right, thanks for that preemptive strike. You knew I was going to ask. Thank you very much. Any questions for Jill? All right, the next report is from Brian Manship, Chair of the Boise Public Library Foundation. Brian?
Good morning. Like Jill, like the Friends, we did not meet since our last meeting. We took a holiday month off, and so we did not meet in the month of December. And this we'll have our very first meeting of the new year tomorrow. So we're going to be gearing up for a couple things, just a couple things to report. The Boise Comic Arts Festival is one of our targets this year, again, to sponsor that. And we are going to be beginning some fundraising for that. And we're going to get some direction tomorrow as well from the team, the library team for Boise Comic Arts Festival. So we're looking forward to that. Probably the greatest news, current news, is that we'll be able to contribute another $30,000 this year, which will be right away from a specific fund earmarked for printed materials. That will be happening very soon. And so 30,000 to the library for printed materials will come about the next couple weeks. And that's all I've got.
Thank you for that 30,000.
Yes, and there'll be more to come.
Any questions for Brian? The next report is from the library director, Jessica.
Thank you, and Happy New Year. We're very excited about turning the calendar to 2023 because we've got a lot going on. Our numbers continue to go up in terms of visits, materials, circulated programs, and so we're really looking forward to having that continue. And then we're also really looking forward to some of the investments that you will start to see, in particular in this downtown location. When Jill talked about the work that her volunteers are doing to get us ready to be off the 4th floor, it is a dusty place up there right now because we are really getting ready. We've got the ship date for the sorter. We've got some pieces that we're just so excited since we're going to be able to show a library that has some investments for our public and really maximize what we're providing as well. I did have a question about the website redesign update that I put in the board packet for you. Really this, as we have gone forward with IT and community engagement on that process, realizing we really need to stabilize the technology that our website is on first before any redesign. And so that's what we're prioritizing now. And I don't have an update in terms of the timeline on that yet, but we are working on that and should be able to get that for you shortly. And then finally, I just want to thank Natasha Rush, who is later this week hosting a group from our training team. We have been going out on site visits to local libraries and library organizations, and we are going to the Boise High School Library. And
I'm so excited to have you guys come. I really am. It'll be a blast.
We're not exactly sure how many of us will be there, but it will be a big group is my guess. So wanted to really thank you for working with us to get that set up.
All right, benchmarking opportunity. Boise Public Library, Boise High School.
And with that, any questions?
I have one question about the telehealth privacy.
I was wondering, we were wondering if you
You
might.
might be excited. What location are you looking at to start that? And are we thinking this would be a pilot to see about other sites?
This will be, the pod will be here downtown.
Okay.
And partly it needs the space, and this is also the place where we've been getting the most questions about it. And that is something we're excited about. We have never had a pod like this with a specific use for this, and so we're gonna find out how it goes, but we're also very excited about it.
And connect with me if you're interested in providers and other folks.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any questions for Jessica? And is there an update on the strategic planning timeline? Yes, there is. Yeah. Okay. And that takes us through reports and brings us to old business. And the first item on the old business agenda is a policy review. Sarah Kelly Chase, Library Services Senior Manager.
Hello, I'm bringing this back.
Could I?
Not confusing last month. Phil, did you have a question?
Yeah, I guess I was surprised there wasn't any discussion of the 3D printing report. Is that,
In the director's report.
You have questions about the summary that Jessica provided in the report?
well, yeah, I guess, so this is something I've been asking about, but I guess one of the questions I have is what are the library users saying about this availability? Are we getting any input from them on that?
I would say that we have not gotten substantial questions about it. That said, we have not tracked that deliberately in a, that was not a question that we specifically asked in our strategic planning survey. One of the things that we've asked is, were we getting questions? Anecdotally, we're getting more questions from staff on using particularly 3D printers in programming than we're getting from the public. And then Heidi actually ran an open-ended query of our strategic planning open-ended questions to see how often that came up, and it was referenced about 20 times. And really we want the library to have technology access and cutting edge tools such as 3D printers. So it is something that we have not had a lot of, we just aren't seeing the interest from the public in the same way we were seeing interest for programming and materials and other books and audiobooks.
Okay. Did you all look at all at any way we might be able to leverage the Meridian Library resources in the same way that we leverage books across the system?
So I was investigating a little bit. I don't want to overstate the amount of investigation, but Unbound, you're referring to the Unbound branch of the Meridian District Library. And it has a mission of supporting entrepreneurial activities. And it seems that they've made 3D printing one of their big items of focus. And it doesn't correspond exactly with the mission of the library currently, which is why Jessica highlighted in her report that they're going to include this in the strategic planning process to try and make a better determination of whether it's within the library's role or not. But one item I did want to raise is we have on A Street, just a block away, Trailhead, which is really a city-sponsored effort with some other supporters for entrepreneurial activities. And the question I came up in mind, is that a better match with Unbound than what having such services at the library? So these are questions I hope get a little time in the strategic planning process. But that's the result of me looking into it a little bit, Phil.
I'm really surprised to hear that supporting small businesses and entrepreneurs is not part of the library mission. That seems very surprising to me. I know
Well,
in the past, you know, if that's the case, there's an awful lot of resources we have online that seem that they don't fit the mission. So I'm very surprised to see that. I guess the other observation I would make is just that a lot of things are being kicked down the road. You know, the website, I imagine, is now, with the city's decision, is probably 2 years away rather than a year away. And, you know, we're kicking this one down the road saying we need to do the strategic plan first. And so that's just an observation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's a fair observation. But I don't want to lose track of one of Jessica's points is there's been a substantial lack of interest from the public so far on 3D printing. Now, it could be that the equipment is starting to get a little outdated and is not as attractive as it was when it was installed, which is another item to consider. But we'll get into the budget support aspects of it that need to be considered as well. So I would say let's keep this on the agenda. If it's an area that you feel strongly about, like I do about ebooks, keep bringing it up.
Can I ask one question, sort of, maybe I need to save it for Heidi, but did we reach out to the entrepreneurship community in our strategic planning at all? So we should be able to pull some of that data and see what resources may be most useful for that group. Because I think it is an interesting point that there is Trailhead, there's Small Business Development Center, and I do think it's good to not duplicate efforts too much. So maybe we can keep that as a focus in the strategic plan and look at what kinds of technology are helpful to people, as well as what's good for entrepreneurs and what resources they need here versus somewhere else. Just to make sure everybody's kind of working together and not duplicating.
I would be curious to know too, who the previous utilizers were of the 3D services at the various branches in the library. Were they, you know, entrepreneur and business folks? Was it students? You know, to kind of see who was the audience that was most interested in utilizing that here. And are those needs potentially being met elsewhere?
Was there a good log kept? It's been first installed since 2018, right? So
And this is where I'm at a disadvantage in that this was before my tenure. So these are all great questions that we can look at more, because I do think the point about where can we, you know, and this is really going to preview some of what Heidi's going to share, is where the community wants us to lead and where the community wants us to support and serve more as a wayfinder to other resources. Because of course we have a role in small business support and small business development, but that difference between being a lead and being more of a convener or support is really important. And we spend a lot of time thinking about where are there gaps that we should be filling and where are there places where we don't want to duplicate. So we really need to be more of that connector or convener, or connecting those resources to the people that need them. And I think I'm previewing how great what Heidi's going to share later, because it really is where the community was helping us with that balance and that area of focus.
Bill, any other questions or comments, or any other trustee questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Okay. Now we'll go to policy review.
Okay.
Sarah?
Okay, so bringing back 3.03, we introduced it last month and it was too nuanced. It's less nuanced now. So this is about services for schools. In the original edits we created was to define how do we decide, are we serving schools within our area of impact, and how do we decide when we serve schools outside of our area of impact, because we do serve them as well. So you'll actually see 2 paragraphs on here. They're pretty similar, but the difference is within the school district and outside the school district. And one thing you had asked was that last sentence on the first paragraph, wondering if that was repetitive, and so as to not diminish availability for these programs and services. Within the Boise School District, to me, that reads as making sure we're serving all of the requests. And so we're only at this school all the time, or we're doing a huge series here and not being able to go somewhere else. So it seems repetitive, but I think it's to highlight that we want to try and serve everyone as equally as possible. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Did this clarify
Yeah,
for everybody?
I think that the prior version was a little bit confusing,
It was.
and that confusion was enhanced by the competitiveness.
Yeah.
And so you've divided into 2 paragraphs, one addressing inside the area of influence and one addressing outside, and it's very clear.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Any questions for Sarah? Any other questions or comments? Okay, that takes us to the next topic.
Doesn't that need, it needs a motion?
Oh, sorry. Now we gotta approve it. Can I get a motion to approve the services policy subsection 3, section 3 and subsection 3 and 4?
I'll move to approve the policy section 3.00 services, subsection 3.03 as revised.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, motion carried. And that takes us to the next topic, which is strategic planning. And the main library manager, Heidi Lewis.
And I am going to kick this off before Heidi speaks. I want to provide sort of an overview of where we are in the process. Heidi will focus on the content, and really what I'm excited about is she's going to share these 12 key findings that were identified in her phase 1 summary, and what they will serve as our foundation as we move forward into the next phase of our strategic planning process. I will start by saying last month, I shared that we would have for you a final report and a time that we would discuss our updated timeline. And I was overly optimistic. And we will not be discussing our phase 2 timeline today because we have not been able to put that together yet. At every stage, we have prioritized doing the work with the time that it needs. And so we wanted to really put time into this and having the right phase 1 summary and the right key findings. We know that the next work to do is really to determine what that timeline is, what it looks like. So I don't have a decision on whether we'll have a steering committee or whether a board member will be on it. So I just wanted to be really upfront and transparent about that. We wanted to take the time to make sure we had the right input from our community before we did anything else. So that was the work that we have done. We are at this point close to having a final full report from our consultants. That is still work that's outstanding, but what I wanted to say that just upfront where we are, because these key findings I think are so important, and I think will really make clear why we wanted to make sure we had the right work in that, so that when we started to use them, we knew we had a real understanding of what our community and stakeholders and staff would tell us.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll kick it off to Heidi. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, board. Thank you for letting me join you again today to talk about the strategic plan. I'm very excited to be able to share what we have to share with you today. Let's see, this is going to work. Hold on. It's not. It says that it is on. And yet.
You don't do the jazz.
I
It's gonna work. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. So since it's been a minute since we met together and talked about the strategic plan, wanted to go back to our anchor slide, what we've been using for this entire project, which is, we're turning to community members to understand their needs and desires for library programs and services. That's the basis of what we're trying to do, and we are listening first. I also wanted to update you on the timeline. So here's our project timeline. So last year we had the project kickoff, the phase 1, the phase 1 summary, and today we're bringing you the key insights from that analysis and summary development. And we are going to be moving into drafting and finalizing the plan itself, we'll talk a little bit about phase 2 later in this presentation. But because we're giving you key insights from the phase 1 summary, I also wanted to have a reminder here of all the engagement and input that happened in phase 1 that contributed to this large summary that we're going to be able to share with you very soon. So we had a community survey with over 2,300 participants, a staff survey. We had stakeholder interviews with over 30 city and library leadership and community partners. We had listening sessions for the public over a couple of different months, both in-person opportunities and virtual opportunities. We had both off-site outreach and on-site activities to really make sure people knew about all the different options they had for participating in the strategic plan and why we were doing it. And then peer library benchmarking, which was a really exciting opportunity to learn about how other libraries are successful in different things and to learn from them. So with all of that, taking all that input, all that engagement, we do have a summary of key insights that we're going to share with you today. It's over 4 areas and we have 12 key insights. So the 4 areas, again, using that community, partner, and staff engagement and what we learned from peer benchmarking and examining community and library context. We're going to talk about the library community connection, library role and scope, library resources and facilities, and library staff, culture, and systems. So we're going to first start with the library community connection. We have 2 key insights from this one. So what I'll do with these is I will read the key insight aloud. I won't read everything that's in the bullet points to the right, but I might touch on a couple of them. So our first key insight is the library and the city of Boise are at a pivotal moment of change and adaptation. So really, we all know, it came up in every single interview and so much in the survey and everything all of you work with, that Boise is growing. Of course, that's going to affect the library and the library's connection with the community, as well as so much of what we even talked about earlier today is different because of the COVID-19 pandemic. That has changed staff capacity, that has changed the focus of what we're trying to do to support the community. So just those 2 factors alone really make it so that we're at a pivotal moment of change and adaptation. The insight number 2 is the library adjusts for growth and change. The community wants the library to continually assess how to maximize the use of its resources and expertise. So again, this was something that came across all of our inputs, our interviews, the survey, the listening sessions, is that the library runs the risk of trying to do too much or duplicating services that are already being handled by other organizations or partners in the community. And as Jessica mentioned earlier, that point of where are the opportunities and the places where the community wants us to lead and where do we need to support. Our next section is library role and scope, and we have 4 key insights for this one. So Boise residents and library stakeholders are strongly aligned in expecting the library to be inclusive and serve all Boise residents. This really came out that means across all points on the political spectrum, that the library or the community values the support the library provides for different demographics in our community, different needs in our community, such as helping to support and get resources to those experiencing homelessness, those experiencing mental health crises, and those with less access to opportunities. And that the community believes the library has an opportunity to bring the community together. Key insight number 4. Boise residents believe the library should play a lead role in education, including early childhood education, literacy, and lifelong learning. So community members rate the library's role in lifelong learning as their top priority service area. Also, the #1 way for the library to enrich the lives of Boise residents, and the leading topic for the library to focus on to help create Boise's best future. And that can be tied to so many different things that the library is already doing and things for us to explore. Key insight #5, the community wants the library to serve a supporting role as a central access point for community resources and organizations. So there's a lot of opportunities to collaborate with other organizations to get people relevant services, referrals, all of that we have the opportunity to become a strong community connector and to formalize our approach to partnerships. So again, we're really as strong as we can be in making those connections, providing those referrals, leading where we can, supporting where we can. Key insight #6, the community wants the library to strengthen the programs it provides for children ages 6 to 11, teens, and adults. So survey respondents identify programs as one of the top means for the library to enrich the lives of residents. This again is that point in time we did take the survey, or offered the survey. The listening sessions did happen at a particular time in Boise's history and the library's history, and it did have a lot to do with the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, there were times when we were not able to have programs at all during the pandemic. As we've slowly brought programs back, we prioritize programs for early literacy support. So that's 0 to 5. So overall, community members happy with that and see an opportunity to continue to bring back and grow programs for other ages. And non-users especially, we're hoping for some additional adult programs. And then again, another opportunity for us to collaborate with community partners. All right, so now we're moving on to library resources and facilities, and we've got 4 insights for this area. So community partners, key insight #7, community members highly value the library's print and digital collections. That came across so strongly in all of our inputs across all of the people that we engaged with, that the collections, the materials that we provide are seen as the cornerstone of the library and are very well used and very well loved by the community. And also, again, opportunities to include voices, marginalized groups, Spanish speakers, refugee communities, and that the physical collections are prioritized slightly more than digital collections by the community, both valued very highly. Key insight #8, the community is not fully aware of all the library has to offer. That also came across in every single interview, listening session, so many survey responses, staff input, all of that there's so much the library does that people aren't aware of. And there's a real opportunity then where a lot of the people who can use library resources aren't aware of them. And so we've got a real opportunity there to connect. Key insight #9, the community wants the library to enhance its physical spaces and provide a welcoming, friendly atmosphere. Survey respondents want the library to offer comfortable, safe, and attractive spaces to gather and to engage in learning activities with approachable and responsive staff. And then community members also value close proximity to a library location and want to see equitable access across the city that's responsive to the growth of Boise. Key insight #10, the community wants the library to have the appropriate resources needed to achieve the community's vision for the library. So that goes into adequate funding for staffing, technology, materials, facilities, and insight that peer libraries, all of our peer libraries receive funding in other ways than we do. So that's an area to explore. All right, our final area of focus and our final 2 insights, library staff, culture, and systems. While staff have a positive outlook on the library's workplace overall, there are opportunities to improve some of the library's systems and structure. Staff strongly believe working together in new ways will increase impact for the public. So much of this has to do with reassessing the staffing model, which can bring all kinds of additional insights and areas for improvement, as well as providing more training opportunities and improving communication across all divisions and locations. And then our final insight, key insight 12, For 12, the library should better utilize data to continually reassess its programs and services and inform decision-making. So it was noted that at this point, there's not a consistent use of data to make decisions related to programs and services. And that as we work on improving that collection and use of data, that using some of what we've learned through the strategic plan process and some of the real purpose behind the strategic plan process and engagement was to involve the community ongoing in listening to the community and having a responsive relationship with the community. So those are 12 key insights from the phase 1 summary. Our next steps are going to be phase 2, drafting the plan, which will include at a high level, refining our current mission, vision, and values, prioritizing those areas of focus with 12 key insights with a lot of depth in each one of them. We're not going to be able to do all of that. And so prioritizing our areas of focus for the next 2 to 5 years, and then designing goals and tactics that support those areas of focus. And with that, I will end with any questions at this point, or if there's any discussion.
Do you have overall project view just as a backup or anything? Your last slide I was looking for, when is phase 2 completed?
Oh, I can go back to, let's see here. Sorry, there's probably an easier way to do this, but we're going to do it this way. I can go back to our project timeline slide. So we're hoping that winter and spring we'll draft and finalize the plan. That's our next work with those 3 areas I talked about. And then we're hoping to begin implementation of the plan, really starting to dig into those. Part of it will be deciding the timeline of which of those new goals are going to take 5 years to complete, which of those we can be able to start right away later this fiscal year, and which of those will we need to begin next fiscal year or a fiscal year after, depending on budgetary support and that sort of thing.
Okay, so phase 2 completion is April, May. And implementation is as soon as phase 2 completion is reached. Okay. And those summaries, those are the key points. There's a lot there. They need some thinking. I'm particularly struck by number 12. Our discussion of 3D printing, for example, is a good example of how we could use data if we had it to make such decisions.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot there. The key insights strike me as key insights. So, will we, Jessica, I think there's a follow-up package.
Yeah, what we'd like to do is to be able to get you those 12 key insights in a digestible form so that you can actually sort of dig into them too, because we've been talking about them and we're really excited, and now we're starting to talk to them. We had a staff meeting on Friday where we went through them and are starting to be able to talk with other groups. You're the second group that got to hear them in their totality, but it does take some time to really dig into them. And I just want to highlight Heidi's point about, we know we'll be touching all of them, but they're really focusing on the sequencing and how do they build on each other. What do we do this year? What are we capturing so that we're showing that we're making progress, are also the big discussions that we're currently having.
So we will get these 12 insights bundled into the summary report?
We'll give you the 12 insights in a separate.
Okay.
That's how we've worked with them, because it's been fun to just have them posted, for discussion.
Will the report or plan we get have a little more of the data backing these insights? I'm just curious. I don't want to waste your time with a bunch of questions on more detailed data, but I'm curious about some of the points in the data. Okay.
You mentioned we could have the report in hard copy or electronic. And if that's still the case, is we can ask for a hard copy report. I'd like to get a hard copy.
Okay.
Just because I think it's hard to maintain continuity as you're flipping from page to page on a report that big. It's how many pages?
165.
I'm curious to know what the prioritization process will be. Who would be involved? What the board meeting, that's all.
Okay.
And I can kind of validate, I really appreciate Phil's sense of urgency earlier in the meeting, our discussion about that. However, also going concurrently through a community health needs assessment for 18 counties right now, I can tell you, you're on a very similar timeline to what we have done. We do have our first draft, or our draft report in hand, but that will take a lot of revision things, and our stuff won't be out until the summer too, and implementation in the fall. So just sort of validating the timeline that you're on, and then these are 18-month processes from data collection through final reporting, and then deciding what to do with it all. But I am eager for the prioritization process and how we can be involved and support that as well. Obviously, I think I would lean towards staff first and what their thoughts, feelings, and opinions are, but I think it would be very valid for us to also participate in some of that processing. Seeing 12 key insights, something I've learned with implementation too, is depending on how long your implementation is. We used to do 12 things. We now do 3, because the reality is it's very difficult to go deep and not wide. Even though all of these things are incredibly valid, it's still sometimes worthwhile to push your efforts into the few things you know you can do and do well realistically, versus trying to spread that peanut butter and trying to do 12 things. 12 is a lot of things to do in a 3 or a 5 year time.
Which was also the insight that we got from the community.
Yeah,
Like
focus.
running their focus, yeah.
Focus. So I appreciate that.
Any other comments or questions on 12 key insights? Okay, Heidi, thank you very much. Looking forward to spending some time with this. Okay, that takes us to Nikki Pantera, who's going to talk, give us a quick update on the library director's performance review, annual performance review. Thank you, Nikki.
Yeah, thank you. So last year, and I apologize, I missed the last meeting, but just as a recap for Natasha and Rebecca, last year, Tanya and I went through and created a timeline and a whole new set of forms to do the evaluation with, and got kind of input throughout. I think it worked pretty well. So I was using the same timeline and form. So in January, what we'll be doing is creating survey questions and getting surveys out to Jessica's direct reports to get some input there, and also reach out to the city to get some input from the city's side. And then in February, we will be gathering Jessica's self-report, and we use the same form for all of them. And evaluating all the data that we've gotten from Jessica, the direct reports, and the city. And Brian and I will use that to create a draft report from the directors. And then I was hoping to put, and I can make sure we're doing this right with legal, but an executive session in March to review our draft report to Jessica, get any more input needed from other board members. And then following that, Brian and I will meet with Jessica, and then we will approve the final in April and send it to the city. So if that sounds still good with everybody, that is the approach I was planning to take.
Sounds very good. So the survey goes out, remind me, late January?
I don't know exactly how long it will take them at the city to put it all together and get it out, but I was going to contact her like Monday. Because I want to give people plenty of time to fill out the survey and think about it and get good input. So it will go out mid-January, due end of January or early February, depending how long it takes the city to package it and get it out with their.
Okay. Who compiles the results of the surveys?
The city, it's Megan.
Okay, HR.
Yeah, so the city HR helps with all of that so that it's anonymized.
Perfect.
And yeah, because we want it to be anonymized and people feel comfortable. And so there's kind of a layer even in between us and whoever's filling it out. And then an additional layer between Jessica and whoever's filling it out. So just to get, I want people to be candid and forthright.
Okay, any questions for Nikki? Thank you for the update.
I do have a question, not just on process, because last year I made the introduction from Tanya to Megan Ronaldo, and then she just worked with her directly. Do you want to?
Yeah, Carrie's
Carrie's
super
already
on
done
top of it and
There she
already
is.
sent me the contact
Perfect.
information. So I've already got that taken care of. So thanks.
Okay. There is no other new business. And the next topic is the selection of a trustee to review the payment vouchers for January. I guess part of January, part of February, right? Between now and the next board meeting. And Natasha, it looks like you're the next person in line.
Yep, that's totally fine.
Okay, thank you. And the next meeting date is February 8th, Wednesday, February 8th. Does anybody have any concerns about February 8th? Okay, and then I had something not on the agenda. I'm going to be gone, traveling out of the country on March 8th and will not make the March meeting. So in particular, Nikki, I want to make sure you will, so that I can get things done for you that you need before then.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine as long as you're comfortable. We have all the input. And when are you back? 'Cause we will need to meet with Jessica before the April meeting.
25th of March.
So we'll just have to, maybe we should schedule whenever we're meeting with you before you leave, just to make sure we get it on everybody's calendar.
The Monday following would work for me.
Okay.
Okay. And I think that's it, other than, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second? Second, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned.